Well, hello. Have a seat. Utilize your sharpened pencil and we will sharpen our minds. There is much to learn. If the tolerance to severe stomach acid is 4.13 days and Jonah endured 3.0 days, then the result is an Nineveh hypothesis gone wrong. Look at the acid found in common fruit, apple A, and realize that the fall happened on a Garden of Eve curve into the Nephilim and Noah's naked dance. The result can be surmised to be 7 days around Jericho brings down the walls and up the probability of an intertestamental Maccabean revolt. And so, if the above is true, then this can only mean that God and man coalesce in a Trinitarian solution. Any questions? Good.
Hey, welcome to week 2 in our series called The Bible for Dummies, and for all of you, the smart people too. All right, last week we started off talking about creation. Today we're going to talk about the fall. What we're doing in this series is we're taking the entire Bible, right? And we're kind of doing a survey of the whole thing. What is it all about? There's 66 books in this one book, but what does it all mean? So last week in the realm of creation, we talked about how God created the world to have a relationship with mankind. God didn't create the world just to get love. He primarily created to give His love, and how life is about relationship with God and relationship with people. This week we're talking about the fall. Now the fall is when God puts Adam and Eve in this perfect place. It's paradise. And Adam and Eve are experiencing paradise, and life is pretty good. In fact, it's not just good, right? It's great. But God does something interesting. He says, you guys can do whatever you want in this place of paradise, the Garden of Eden. You can do anything you want in this garden. Just don't do this one thing. And the one thing is, don't eat of this particular tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, let's just stop right here for a second, and I got to be honest with you, right? Because you and I don't live in a paradise. I mean, have you noticed? I mean, the world is broken, right? The weather's broken. Our political systems are broken. You know, government's broken. My body is broken. It doesn't matter how much I work out, eat right. I don't do that all the time anyway, obviously, okay? But it doesn't matter how much I do that. It's all downhill from here, okay? And I, as a person, not just physically, but as a person, I'm broken. I can't live up to my own standard, much less God's. So God creates this paradise. He puts Adam and Eve in the paradise, but He gives them opportunity to screw it all up by putting this tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and says, don't do it, right? Why does God give them the opportunity to mess up this paradise that He's created? I mean, have you ever thought about it? So God, in essence, says, don't sin, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to sin. Think about this for a second. We'll go back to the first question in a minute. Why does God not want us to sin? Well, here's why. I'm going to give you the answer, right? I'm a pastor. That's what I do. Here's the answer. God doesn't want us to sin because life is about relationships. And do you know what sin does? Sin always separates. Today we're talking about the fall, and sin separated Adam and Eve from God. It separated them from the Garden of Eden. It separated them from paradise. Think about this. It also separated them from each other. The Bible says that up till this point in the Garden of Eden, they're running around naked and unashamed, right? I mean, like your 2-year-old, okay? I mean, they were running around. They didn't even know it. The first thing that happens after they disobey God, after they eat of that tree, is they realize they're naked, and the first thing they do is they cover themselves, which means on some level, for the first time in their existence, they were separated from one another. They hid from one another by covering themselves up. Not only did it separate them from each other, but it also separated them from God, because God shows up in the garden and says, where are you? And you know what they're doing? They're hiding. Now let me give you a little bonus. God knows where they are, right? God is just giving them an opportunity to come out of hiding and trust Him again. But they stay in hiding, and God pursues them, and we'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. But this is why God doesn't like sin. You know why? Because it separates. It messes up relationships. Okay, you can dwell on that, right? Think about that, talk about that as a group. Let's go back to the first question. So if sin separates and God doesn't want us to do it and it's bad, why did he even give us the opportunity to do it? Why even put the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden? Bake that one for a little bit. To get the right answer, right, you got to ask the right question. So let me ask you this question. Can you have love without choice? Can there be love without free will? I'm going to make you love me. This is real love. I'm making you do it, right? See, there can't be love without the opportunity for choice. There cannot be love without free will. So here's what we got. Here's what we're going to talk about today as a group. So creation, God creates us for relationship with him, for relationship with each other. And then you have the fall. Sin enters in, and sin separates relationship with God, relationships with each other. So here's the question. Why does God give us the will to choose? Why did he give you the will to choose? And with that, can there be love without choice? Pretty heavy stuff. Talk about it as a group. Hope you have a great time together, and I'll see you next week.